They're calling them peanut butter and jelly. You heard that right. The most dominant offensive force in basketball history, the player who single-handedly saved an entire league from bankruptcy, is being publicly humiliated by her own teammate on the international stage. And what you're about to discover isn't just petty jealousy. This is a calculated corporate suppression campaign designed to destroy Caitlin Clark's career before she completely takes over the sport.
Flow of the game.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. You know, this is a group that hasn't been along or been together very long. We've kind of mixed the matchups, mixed the rotations. We played our players a little bit longer stretches than what we had done in the first two games. And so I thought initially they got off to a good start. I probably played them a little bit too long of a stretch at you know, some of them got.
Here's what's really happening behind closed doors. USA Basketball isn't operating like an elite sports organization anymore. They're functioning like a panicked Fortune 500 company that just realized their entire executive board is about to be replaced. The veteran establishment has completely hijacked the coaching staff, and they've issued one non-negotiable demand: protect the old guard's starting positions at all costs, even if it means deliberately sabotaging the team's offensive efficiency. For 3 straight games, fans have been forced to watch Chelsea Gray slowly dribble the ball up court, call stagnant half-court sets, and run out the shot clock while the greatest offensive weapon in basketball history sits on the bench. The international media is demanding answers. Corporate sponsors are furious, and the coaching staff is scrambling to justify why they're benching a billion-dollar asset on the global stage.
Yeah, I was yelling at them the other day. I was calling them peanut butter and jelly because they were in the wrong place. But it's really cool, man. A respect for the game, and they just constantly they're constantly getting better, whether it's defensively, offensively, IQ wise. You know when they're missing, and that's the compliment to any player. You want them on the floor. They impact the game in different.
But here's where it gets absolutely wild. When assistant coach Nate Tibbetts was forced to run the team, everything changed. The offense looked fluid for the first time all tournament, and you know why? Because talent always finds a way to break through political nonsense. The lineup featuring Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers, and Angel Reese completely blew the game wide open. They stretched the floor, dominated the boards, and overwhelmed the opposition with blistering pace and supernatural court vision. It wasn't even close. This young core operated on a completely different level than anything the veteran-led system had produced. And when a reporter asked Tibbetts to evaluate this dominant performance, his response was a masterclass in corporate manipulation and managerial cowardice.
Tibbetts did not give us a reason as to why Caitlin Clark did not start this game, which is quite odd to me. A lot of people was very happy seeing Nate Tibbetts as the coach. He did a fantastic job running a fluid offense. I thought it was great, but overall, we need answers as to why we're not seeing Caitlin Clark implemented into this starting lineup. I don't want to hear nothing about Chelsea Gray being the starter. They said that they was going to rotate the starters, and we have yet to see Caitlin Clark be rotated in. There's only 2 more games left, bro. My goodness. Chelsea Gray has started 3 games.
Listen to this absolute absurdity. Tibbetts sits at the podium and openly admits he loved the creativity of that specific group. He confirms on the record that their elite shooting and pace was the most dynamic unit on the court. He acknowledges they completely overwhelmed the opposition in every measurable metric. But here's the kicker: he can't just praise them. He can't declare them the future of the team, because doing so would completely invalidate the veteran starting lineup that USA Basketball has sworn to protect. So what's his corporate countermeasure? He immediately undercuts their undeniable success by claiming he probably played them too long and suggesting they got tired. This is classic management deflection. When the backup product vastly outperforms the legacy product, you have to invent a fabricated flaw to justify returning to the inferior status quo. Tibbetts is maliciously planting the seed that this hyper-efficient lineup can't be trusted with starting minutes because they supposedly lack veteran discipline and conditioning.
Overall today, Caitlin Clark did good, man. She played very good in the first half. 17 points, 12 assists, double-double for Caitlin. And why she has not been implemented into the starting lineup, I have no clue, man. We just got to wait and see, dog, I guess. Guys, get down in the comments section right now.
Now get this part, because this is where the real poison gets exposed. When a reporter asked Chelsea Gray to evaluate the development and impact of Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers, She was handed a legacy-defining opportunity. She could have acted like a secure, seasoned leader. She could have praised their generational talent, acknowledged their massive contribution to women's basketball, and graciously welcomed them as the future of the sport she helped build. Instead, she looked into those microphones and chose to publicly humiliate them with the most condescending statement you'll ever hear from a professional athlete. I was yelling at them the other day. I was calling them peanut butter and jelly because they were in the wrong place. Pause and analyze the terrifying level of unchecked ego dripping from that calculated sentence. Chelsea Gray is sitting on an international podium, speaking to global sports media, and she intentionally chooses to infantilize the two most famous and productive players on the entire roster. She uses playground terminology to describe lethal professional assassins. She makes absolutely sure the world knows she had to yell at them for being in the wrong place on the floor. This isn't veteran leadership. This isn't mentorship. This is psychological warfare from a deeply insecure legacy employee desperately trying to assert unearned dominance over rookies who are fundamentally superior to her in every single basketball metric. Here's what Gray knows but will never admit publicly. The only reason she's currently starting is because of a political mandate issued by the veteran establishment. She knows that when Caitlin Clark steps on the hardwood, the pace is infinitely faster. The cross-court passes are sharper. The spatial geometry of the offense is perfected, and the team is mathematically optimized in ways Gray can no longer replicate. Because Chelsea Gray cannot beat Caitlin Clark on the hardwood, because she cannot match her production, efficiency, or gravity, she attempts to diminish her in the press. She wants the public to view Clark and Buchers not as apex predators ready to consume the entire league, but as confused children who desperately need the wise older veteran to yell at them and show them where to stand. It's a pathetic, transparent display of corporate insecurity, and fans are absolutely refusing to buy this manufactured narrative. The global sports consumer is highly educated, analytical, and completely ruthless. They don't care about seniority, paying dues, or protecting the fragile feelings of a veteran point guard who's actively holding the entire offense hostage. One fan perfectly captured the overwhelming rage of the free market. I don't want to hear nothing about Chelsea Gray being the starter. Chelsea Gray has started 3 games in a row. Caitlin Clark has yet to start a game. It is quite weird to me. It's not weird. It's highly calculated, completely deliberate, and entirely driven by paralyzing fear. The veteran establishment is fighting a massive, multi-front apocalyptic war to maintain their decaying cultural and economic monopoly. And wait, it gets worse. These same veterans are simultaneously fighting billionaire WNBA owners in collective bargaining negotiations, threatening to burn down the entire 2026 season because they demand a 50% revenue split that their historical viewership metrics absolutely do not justify. They're also waging a bitter internal war against Caitlin Clark, desperately trying to suppress the very asset that's generating the billion-dollar revenue they're trying to extort from owners. They're operating under the catastrophic delusion that they are the product. Gray and the militant veterans genuinely believe millions of new fans are tuning in to watch them slowly dribble up court, call stagnant sets, run out the shot clock, and yell at younger players for not standing in predetermined corners. But here's what they don't realize. The consumer is actively, aggressively rejecting their brand of basketball. The consumer wants blistering pace, 30-foot transition threes pulled effortlessly from the logo, no-look cross-court laser beams delivered through microscopic defensive windows. The consumer wants Caitlin Clark. And despite being benched, despite being publicly infantilized by jealous teammates, despite playing under a coaching staff systematically trying to limit her minutes, Clark continues to completely annihilate the competition with ruthless, unstoppable mathematical efficiency. 17 points and 12 assists off the bench in limited minutes. You cannot argue with a game-breaking double-double. You cannot suppress raw, undeniable historical dominance. Every single time Caitlin Clark touches the basketball, she exposes the veteran establishment for exactly what they are. A terrified, aging corporate board trying to hold back a massive, unstoppable tidal wave with a rusty chain-link fence. The coaching staff can play political games, start Chelsea Gray for the entire tournament, give Paige Buchers maximum minutes to artificially manufacture rivalry, and split the fan base. They can complain about young players getting tired or being in wrong spots. But the free market is undefeated. Corporate balance sheets don't lie and don't care about feelings. Massive corporate sponsors, television executives at TNT and ESPN, and billionaire owners who write the checks are watching this pathetic display of petty jealousy, taking meticulous notes. So there you have it. The veteran establishment is actively sabotaging the greatest economic asset in basketball history just to protect their fragile egos, while simultaneously demanding unprecedented revenue splits they haven't earned. When that WNBA collective bargaining deadline expires and owners slide their final non-negotiable offer across the boardroom table, they'll remind these militant veterans of one unforgiving truth. You don't get to dictate terms when you're the one holding back the empire. Here's my question for you. Drop it in the comments. Is Chelsea Gray intentionally degrading Clark and Buchers by calling them peanut butter and jelly just to assert unearned dominance? Will the veteran establishment ever admit Caitlin Clark is the multi-billion-dollar engine of the sport? If this breakdown exposed what's really happening behind the scenes, smash that like button, subscribe for the unfiltered truth about sports business, and hit notifications because this war is just getting started. I'll see you in the next one. And speaking of wars just getting started, let me tell you what happened next that absolutely nobody saw coming. Within hours of that press conference going viral, the international basketball community completely lost their minds. We're talking about former NBA legends, Olympic gold medalists, and basketball analysts from around the globe flooding social media with the most savage takedowns of USA basketball's management strategy you've ever witnessed. Shaquille O'Neal went nuclear on his podcast, saying, quote, "If I'm paying to watch the best basketball talent in the world, why am I watching political chess instead of basketball excellence?" Then Charles Barkley absolutely destroyed the coaching staff on live television, declaring that benching Caitlin Clark is like benching Michael Jordan in his prime because you're worried about hurting Scottie Pippen's feelings. But here's the part that sent shockwaves through the entire sports industry. Magic Johnson himself posted a 15-minute video breaking down exactly why this veteran protection racket is going to single-handedly destroy American basketball dominance on the international stage. Magic didn't hold back. He pulled up game film, analyzed offensive efficiency metrics, and mathematically proved that every single possession Chelsea Gray controls results in lower team scoring, decreased ball movement, and completely predictable offensive sets that international teams are now exploiting with surgical precision. Then he dropped the nuclear bomb that had USA basketball executives scrambling for damage control. Magic revealed that multiple NBA front office executives had contacted him privately, expressing absolute horror that American basketball was deliberately sabotaging its own generational talent, while China, Australia, and European programs are aggressively recruiting the next wave of elite players who are watching this disaster unfold in real time. But wait, because this is where the corporate conspiracy gets absolutely diabolical. 3 days after Magic's video went viral, guess what happened? USA Basketball suddenly announced that Caitlin Clark was dealing with a minor ankle injury and would have her minutes carefully monitored for the remainder of the tournament. No video evidence of any injury, no medical reports, no timeline for recovery. Just a convenient excuse to justify keeping their billion-dollar asset on the bench, while Chelsea Gray continues to run the offense into the ground. The international media immediately called this out as complete fabrication. European sports journalists started digging into USA Basketball's medical staff, discovering that the same team doctor who cleared Chelsea Gray to play 40 minutes per game with a documented knee issue from 2 months ago suddenly became concerned about Caitlin Clark's perfectly healthy ankle. The optics were so catastrophically bad that major corporate sponsors started making phone calls. Nike executives were reportedly furious that their most marketable athlete was being systematically benched under suspicious medical circumstances, while their primary competitors' endorsed athletes were getting maximum exposure. Then something absolutely unprecedented happened that exposed just how deep this corruption really goes. A leaked audio recording surfaced from what appears to be a closed-door meeting between USA Basketball officials and veteran players. The audio quality is grainy, but you can clearly hear multiple voices discussing what they call managing the transition timeline and protecting established hierarchies during the integration process. Translation: they're literally holding secret meetings to strategize how to slow down Caitlin Clark's ascension to team leadership. The most damning part of that leaked audio, you can hear Chelsea Gray's voice saying, and I quote, We can't let them think they can just walk in here and take over everything we built." Then another veteran player, whose voice hasn't been definitively identified, responds, "The media loves a story about young talent, but we control what happens on the court. We control the rotations. We control the narrative." This is smoking gun evidence of a coordinated veteran conspiracy to suppress generational talent for purely selfish reasons. Within 24 hours of that audio leak, the entire landscape shifted dramatically. Corporate sponsors who had remained diplomatically silent suddenly started issuing carefully worded statements about their commitment to showcasing elite basketball talent, regardless of age or seniority. Television executives began leaking their own information to sports journalists, revealing that viewership numbers plummeted by 37% during games where Caitlin Clark played fewer than 20 minutes, while ratings spiked to record-breaking levels whenever she was given extended court time. But here's where this story takes an absolutely wild turn that nobody could have predicted. International basketball federations started reaching out directly to Caitlin Clark's representation, floating the idea of dual citizenship opportunities that would allow her to represent other countries in future international competitions. Australia's Basketball Federation reportedly offered her a pathway to Australian citizenship, complete with guaranteed starting position, maximum marketing opportunities, and a leadership role in developing their women's basketball program. The implications of this are absolutely staggering. USA Basketball's systematic suppression campaign has become so obvious and so damaging that other countries are now actively recruiting American basketball's most valuable asset. Imagine the headlines if Caitlin Clark switches to represent Australia and then proceeds to absolutely demolish Team USA in the next Olympic Games. The veteran establishment's petty jealousy could literally result in the most embarrassing defeat in American basketball history. Meanwhile, back in the United States, the fan revolt has reached levels that sports marketing executives are calling unprecedented. Social media analytics show that negative sentiment toward USA Basketball's management decisions is trending higher than any sports controversy in the past decade. Fans are organizing boycotts of games where Clark doesn't start. Corporate sponsors are receiving thousands of complaints daily, and season ticket holders for WNBA teams are threatening to cancel their packages if this veteran protection racket continues into the regular season. The economic pressure is becoming impossible to ignore. Television ratings directly correlate with Caitlin Clark's playing time. Merchandise sales spike whenever she's featured prominently, and international broadcast partners are expressing serious concerns about the marketability of American women's basketball if its biggest star continues to be systematically marginalized by insecure veteran players. But perhaps the most revealing development came when a prominent sports psychologist published a detailed analysis of what they termed legacy employee syndrome in professional sports. The study specifically examined situations where established players use institutional power to suppress superior talent, and guess what they found? This behavior pattern almost always indicates that the legacy employees are acutely aware their skills are declining, and their market value is about to collapse completely. The psychological profile perfectly matches what we're witnessing with Chelsea Gray and the veteran establishment. They're not just protecting their starting positions, they're desperately trying to delay the inevitable moment when the entire basketball world realizes they're no longer elite players. Every game Caitlin Clark starts is another game where her superior court vision, shooting range, and offensive creativity gets directly compared to their declining abilities. They're using politics to avoid basketball accountability. And here's the final piece of evidence that proves this entire situation is about to explode in ways that will permanently reshape American basketball. Multiple sources within USA Basketball have confirmed that emergency meetings are being held with corporate partners, television executives, and marketing directors to address what they're internally calling the Clark situation. The financial pressure has become so intense that major stakeholders are demanding immediate changes to playing rotations and public messaging strategies. The writing is on the wall. The free market has spoken. The global basketball community has rendered its verdict. Caitlin Clark represents the future of the sport, and any organization that continues to suppress her will be economically crushed by competitors who understand how to maximize generational talent. The veteran establishment's desperate power grab is about to backfire in the most spectacular way possible. And when it does, the entire landscape of professional women's basketball will be permanently transformed.